All right, Colleen, how are you doing today?
Hey, Jason, I'm great.
Good, good. Hey, I really appreciate you choosing my services, and I hope I can give you some things to work on with your dog and some. I know you kind of shared when you contacted me a couple things that you want to focus on, and we can talk about your kind of needs as we kind of go along.
hmm
So, tell me a little bit about your dog. What kind of dog do you have?
I have a male Cocker Spaniel. His name is Finn. He is 3 years old. He's kind of a he kind of rules the house.
Okay.
Um, but I think he's pretty smart. I think he's trainable. And I've got motivational food bits
Oh, cool. Okay,
for him.
we'll talk about your food here in just a little bit, and kind of go over some do's and don'ts with training food. So
Okay.
usually when I start out with working with people, there's a lot of fundamentals that we could go over to help you be successful with your training program. However, we only have a certain amount of time, so I kind of want to give you some quick information before we jump into training. It's really going to be a good prelude into helping you get the most success out of not only your training session today, but really about your overall training on a daily basis. So
That's
the
great.
one of the things to remember is our session today is really not about the dog. Yes, we're going to do some work with the dog, but work needs to happen every day, couple times a day. Maybe like 5 or 10 minutes at a time with him. And we want those reps to be as successful as possible, but we don't need a long training period. So a couple times a day is more beneficial, is more conducive than an hour long session.
Well,
Okay,
that's
so
good to know.
okay. So as we go along, I love questions. There are no dumb questions. So if at any time you have a question, please just say, hey, you know what, man, I'm not understanding this, or hey, can we go over this again? Because a lot of times, after about 30 years of doing this, I forget that sometimes the clients, their brain is still kind of in the infant stages, and a lot of times I can go kind of quickly. And I
hmm
don't want to lose you on anything. And I really want to make sure that you get the most out of our training sessions. Really super important to me.
And
Okay.
sometimes my brain just gets full.
Mine too. Mine too. So two things I really like to go over with people is clear communication and expectation and timing. Okay. So I really group clear communication and expectation really into the same category. So let's talk about clear communication. Clear communication is not just the verbiage we use, but also the expectation that we use. I mean, here's a really good example. Let's say you're using the word come and your husband's using the word come on. Okay, or you're using the word sit and your husband's saying sit down, or vice versa, right? So we kind of start to see the kind of breakdown of language there where everybody really needs to be on the same page. I find it super helpful that people go and they put or they write down all their cues and put them on the refrigerator. That way later you can kind of hold yourself accountable, and you can hold your partner accountable or whoever else is involved in the dog. Dog training is like mathematics. 2 plus 2 should always be 4 to the dog. We don't want any kind of gray areas. It always should be as clear as possible to the dog. Because what happens is, let's say you're saying come on to the dog and your
Mhm.
husband's saying come here, but the dog is really not being successful, and your husband's kind of paying the dog or reinforcing the wrong verbiage or the wrong cues, we call them. So then our expectation starts to kind of change, and the dog says, oh, wait a minute, this may not be what mom wants, this may be what dad wants, and things get kind of convoluted. So we really want to make sure that everybody's on the same page with our verbiage, but also kind of expectation. So let's kind of talk about the expectation for a moment. Is let's say, let's go and kind of go back to the recall. If you say come to the dog and the dog comes to you really, really quickly, and you really like that behavior, okay, we're going to reinforce it, which we'll talk about reinforces in a moment. But let's say your husband, he says come to the dog and the dog kind of meanders to him and he reinforces that behavior. Now we're kind of sending the dog mixed signals with our expectation. So it's really important that whoever is involved in the dog, that you share this information, you go and you basically become their trainer and you work with them. If we
I
ever
really,
have another,
I
good.
really like your idea of the list. That's really helpful for a couple of reasons. One is that we can look at it and both understand that, but also I think it's a pretty neat statement about how many cues your dog can actually learn. That's really cool.
That is very true. And the clearer we can be with our communication skills and our expectations, the more we can actually teach the dog. So you'd be amazed how many cues or how many behaviors a dog can learn, the clearer we are. But what happens is we start convoluting those things and the dog gets kind of confused, and then the dog starts failing. And when the dog starts failing, they get frustrated, and then we get kind of frustrated, but we kind of see that frustration start to come upon when we see a breakdown of communication. So that's super important. That'll really help you. So let's talk about a little timing now. So timing in dog training is crucial. Science tells us that we have a second to a second and a half to really reward for behavior for the dog to coincide why it got a reward. Now, that doesn't mean if you're a little bit later than those 2 seconds that the dog's not going to necessarily coincide it, but for the dog to really daisy chain when the behavior happened and when the reinforcer happened, we really need to be within that 2-second window. So when you're working with the dog, let's say you take the dog out to go potty, because today I think we're going to talk about ringing the doorbell in order to help with some potty training. Obviously that he's potty trained, he's an older dog. However, this will also help you get some clear communication with him. Hey, mom, I have to go outside to make sure we eliminate as many accidents as possible. But let's say you bring him outside, he does his business, and you're like, oh no, I don't have any food with me. You can still go in and reward him, but he's not going to necessarily put the two together that this action or this behavior he did is the reason why he's getting reinforced. Okay. So I know a little bit of background. I know a little bit about your history. You're a teacher. And so obviously you know what classical conditioning is, correct?
I remember that from Psych 101. Yeah. Long time ago.
I never actually went to college, but hey, dog training is helped me kind of learn about classical conditioning and operant conditioning. So we're not going to go through all of classical conditioning, operant conditioning. However, the primary things that we are going to work on today, we're going to work on classical conditioning because we're going to classically condition a word to teach the dog that's a reinforcer coming. So for those who may be watching this and say, wait a minute, I'm not quite understand how classical conditioning applies to dog training. Classical conditioning can be something as simple as when you go to the movie theater, what do we normally get? Normally we get popcorn, right?
Popcorn,
if you're driving down the street and you see a cop car, what's the first thing we do without even thinking about it?
Yeah.
Well, if you're you speed up, but most people, they let off the gas, right? So a certain sound cue, visual aid makes us trigger a thought or trigger action as almost subconsciously without even thinking about it. So how does this help us? Well, this really helps us in our timing with our dogs. So a good example is we all know most of the time if you ring a doorbell, the dog starts immediately barking because the doorbell has been classical conditioned that somebody's walking in the door. The person doesn't have to necessarily walk in at that very moment, but just the doorbell perceives somebody walking in the door. And so what we're going to do today, the first step we're going to do is we are going to classically condition a word that tells the dog that there's a reward coming or a reinforcer. So in this case, a reinforcer is going to be food. However, a reinforcer can be a plethora of different things. In other words, a good example is, let's say you have a problem with the dog jumping on you. Well, a lot of times we can go back and we can kind of see what's going on during the day with the dog. And a lot of times we walk in the house, the dog runs and jumps on us. And what do we automatically do? Normally we pet the dog and this becomes a reinforcer. So we're reinforcing that behavior. So in this case, we are going to use food as a reinforcer. Okay. So what kind of food are you using today?
I have those, it's something I got from BarkBox, just little little tiny, soft, chewy bits.
Awesome. So I'm really glad you got some soft treats because this can actually dictate really how well the dog does. So again, for those who maybe may tune in and watch this later, typically we want something that you can squish between your fingers, kind of like Colleen here is using, because the more reps we can do in a short amount of time frame, the quicker we can create muscle memory. In other words, if I'm teaching my dog how to down, if I can do 10 downs in 10 minutes, or sorry, 10 downs in 2 minutes, my dog is going to learn quicker than if I do 10 downs in 10 minutes, right? So more reps in a short amount of time frame. So typically I want to see a dog chew 3 or 4 times and say, okay, I'm ready to do that again. So I'm really glad you have these kind of treats. This will make training a whole lot easier. Plus, we want to talk about value system to a dog. So dogs have value system just like you and I. If I asked you, do you want a small piece of pie or a large piece of pie? Most likely, what would you say?
Ice cream too.
Okay, ice cream too. We got to put some ice cream. So typically we want like 2 scoops, or 1 scoop is just not enough. We want 2 scoops. Well, dogs are kind of the same way. So they have a value system just like you and I do. So if we're using something that's not really engaging, really doesn't have a high value to the dog, we're going to see the dog's work ethic kind of change a little bit. But if we have something that's really high value to the dog is going to try even harder. And so it's really good that you have these. Obviously, your dog likes these, or you probably would have gotten something else.
Can you hear him? He's all excited about this.
I can hear him. So what we're going to do in a moment is we are going to classically condition a word that tells the dog a reinforcer is going to come, as we discussed. So what word are you thinking about using?
Door.
Door. Okay, now let's talk about that. Door is going to be linked to a behavior, but we want a word that tells the dog there's a reinforcer coming. So it's a word that you're going to use universally throughout all your training.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yes. So I'm really glad you didn't pick good. A lot of times people use like good boy or good girl. And one of the problems is we use that too much in our everyday, just talking to the dog. And pretty soon the dog's like, oh, I hear that all the time. And there's no reinforcer coming. So yes, it's something I find that people don't necessarily use all the time. And a question I get quite often is, what happens if I just say yes in my daily verbiage? Or like your husband says, hey, do you want a beer? And you say yes. It doesn't mean you have to necessarily pay the dog. What happens is, one, the dog usually starts out as engaged with us when we start training. So then the dog knows that we're speaking to them. Plus, most likely, if your husband asks you if you want a piece of pie, you're not going to say yes like that, right? You're just going to say yes.
So I need to say it a certain way.
Yeah, we typically want to say it a certain pitch. Now, I find when I'm working with my dogs that I get a little bit exuberant myself, and so usually my pitch is a little bit different than if somebody just asked me, "Hey, do you want something?" So what we're going to do is you're going to have a little handful of food, and you're basically going to say yes. You're going to feed them. And you're going to count to 2 in your head. Yes, and we're going to feed them. And we'll do this probably about 5 or 6 times.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. 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 I'm doing perfect.
You're doing great.
Yes.
So make sure you say yes first and then hand them the food. If not, classical conditioning won't necessarily happen. So you have to say yes first and then feed.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Nice. Okay. So typically that's going to be our first step. We're going to load that behavior marker. So now that we've kind of talked about a little bit clear communication, little timing, started to work on loading our behavior marker, what are 2 things that you'd really like to focus on today?
Well, I think I'd like to work on him going to the door. Going to the front door and asking to go out. And the other thing, if we have time, would be I want to teach him that he is not allowed in certain rooms.
Okay, boundaries.
So to make some type of a barrier without a physical barrier being there.
Okay, I like boundaries. So let's address the door. We'll kind of work on that, then we'll come back and work on some boundaries. So your goal, and I think we kind of spoke before we started the video, your goal is to get him to ring a bell. Is that correct?
Yes. Okay.
And the bell is going to be an indication that he needs to go out or wants to go out. Well, so I really like the bell idea, because a lot of times what people don't understand is a lot of times the dog is giving us cues that we are totally missing. In other words, like my dogs will come and they'll stare at me and they'll whine. That tells me they have to go out. Or my old guy, he'll come and he'll kind of just sit near me and he'll whine. So each dog kind of has its own way of kind of communicating. But a lot of times we can miss those cues, and this is where the dog will have an accident, or the dog will urgently need to go out and we let the dog hold it for a while. Then we feel really bad. And so I really like the bell. It's really the audible cue that we will know. It'll actually classically condition us to know that the dog needs to go outside.
Cool. So I took 2 bells that I had from my sewing kit, And
that will work great.
stick it on a small rubber band
Okay.
and attach it to a long string.
Awesome. So be a little bit careful with the rubber band. For training purposes today, it's fine, but we don't want to make the bell a toy to the dog. We don't want the dog to run up and pull on the bell, let it go, and it bounces everywhere. Some dogs will get will play with it, and that's not really what we want. We want it to be a cue to us humans, not necessarily a toy to the dog. Is that going to make sense?
It does make sense, yes.
Cool. All right. So there's going to be a little bit of a process, and certain dogs handle this a little bit differently. So the dog would kind of tell us as we go along some steps we're going to take. But what's really crucial is that we're going to utilize your beginning behavior marker that we've started to create. Now, even though that we've started to load that cue that yes tells the dog there's a reinforcer, doesn't mean it's necessarily really anchored. So you're going to want to make sure each day you do a couple little sessions, maybe like 10 pieces of food. Yes, and feed, yes, and feed, yes, and feed. And that can be like a little training session. That's it. We're just trying to really classically condition that word, and the dog knows for a fact that there's a reinforcer coming, because if the dog's not clear at the very moment they do something that there's a reward coming, it's going to be harder for us to shape that behavior. Okay? Okay. So why don't you go ahead, and I'm going to have you move back into the frame a little bit. Grab your dog.
Does he need to be on a leash?
Nope, he doesn't need to be on leash for this.
Okay.
And so don't worry about the door right now. We're just gonna work on the bell.
All right. Alrighty, I'm ready.
All right, that'll work. Go ahead and kneel down.
Oh, I can move it up a little.
Okay, well, I'd actually like to, if you can, kneel down on the floor with the dog. Sure. There you go, that'll work. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Go ahead and put the bells in your hand. Okay. What we're gonna do is the bells are gonna be in your hand, and you're gonna have food. You're gonna have a bunch of food in the other hand, okay? And basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna drop a piece of food basically right in your hand with the bell. So the dog's going to basically get the piece of food on top of the bell or around the bell. I just wanted to get that tactile connection with the bell to start off with. Okay. We're not going to put any kind of command to it. We're just going to get him to basically make a physical contact with it. Okay.
Shall I call him over?
Sure. Call him over.
Hey, come here.
Good.
Yeah.
And you're not going to say yes yet. You're not going to say yes yet. We don't have a behavior yet we want to mark. We're just simply luring here. Good. Good.
Oh, missed.
Uh-oh. And you don't have to drop it from that height. You can just, there you go. Good. So the reason why we're doing this is a lot of times some dogs are a little bit sensitive, where something will make a little noise or rattle, and they'll be like, wait a minute, that's kind of adversive, or that's kind of scary. So I just want to make sure that he's actually pretty comfortable with the physical objects in your hand. It's not a really big deal. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is you're going to have the bell in one hand. We're going to dangle the bell. Okay. And then you're going to have a piece of food, and you're basically going to hold the piece of food right behind the bell. Okay. Just kind of, you're going to let him get the food, kind of like he has to push the bell out of the way in order to get the food. Good. Just like that.
I've run out of food. Let me get some.
Okay, let's reload. Now, do you have any commands that you've used the word bell for? Like, does he know anything that means the word bell? Okay, that's gonna be our command. Now, after our session, if you want to change it, you're welcome to, but for today, we'll just use bell.
All righty.
That way, when I communicate with you, you know exactly what to go for.
Okay.
Okay.
right, I'm reloaded.
Yep, reload, okay. So you're just gonna lure right behind the bell. There you go, good.
Bell.
Good.
This makes sense to me. Oh.
Good. So let's do that about 3 more times, and then we're going to see how he's processing the information, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Is it possible that you turn sideways a little bit? So I can see him. All I see is his backside. There you go.
Yeah.
Good. One more time. Good. Okay. So now watch this. Can you take both your hands and put them behind your back for a minute? Okay. So you're going to dangle the bell and you're going to pull the bell out, and we're just going to see if we can get lucky on this. I don't know how strong the lure is yet, but you're going to pull out the bell and just kind of hold it in front of him and say bell. Now, if we get lucky, wait, nope, take it away. It's okay. It's okay. If we get lucky, he's going to touch it, right? And the moment he does, you're going to say yes and feed him. If he starts to move towards it, but maybe doesn't make contact, we're still going to mark and feed for the attempt, okay? So let's just see how he handles that, and that'll tell us which direction we need to go. Okay, so pull it out, dangle right in front of him. Yes. Good job. Take it away. Good. So it's really important each time you do this that you take the bell away. We almost like we're kind of presenting it to the dog, giving the dog another opportunity. Okay, let's do it again.
Yes.
Good.
Yes, great.
Can you do me a favor? Can you dangle that a little bit? Because I actually want him to make this. It'd be nice if he could make the sound. Okay, take it away. Good. So that was a little confusing. I don't know if kind of the changing the length made a difference. Maybe don't give it so much length. Maybe about 2 inches down. Okay.
Right.
Oh, looks like you. Good. Looks like you went out of frame. Okay, hold on. Take it away. Okay. Now go ahead. Dangle in front of him. Wait. Yeah. Oh, he looked like he moved forward. Okay, take it away. Okay. Remember, if he makes the attempt, you say yes.
Yes.
Good. Take it away. Right away. Do it again.
Yes.
Good. Now, good job. Even though he just touched the string, he went towards it. And sometimes we have to pay him for the attempt. Okay. Okay, wait. Hold on. Let's wait a second. Nope. Take it away. Good. Let's try it again.
Yes.
Good. Do me a favor. The next time he touches it, I want you to jackpot him. In other words, I know you know what that is, but you're going to feed him 3 in a row.
Should I say bell?
You can try it. Let's see where he's at with it.
Bell.
Yes. Oh, good job. I wasn't sure the cue was strong enough yet. Let's try it again.
Bell.
So you actually need to say bell the moment you present it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Bell. Yes.
Good. Did you say yes? Good job. Again?
Bell.
Okay, again?
Bell.
Nope. So do me a favor. Can we dangle a little bit more? And go and hold it in front of him even though he's in a down.
Bell. Yes.
Good. Okay, again?
Bell. Yes.
Good.
Bell. Bell. Yes.
Good. Now, did he touch your hand or the bell that time?
He touched the bell.
Okay, good. And from here, it looked like you just touched your hand. Good. Let's try it again.
Bell.
Good.
I think I slapped the bell in his face.
Good. Let's do it again.
Bell.
Okay, wait, bring it a little closer to him.
He touched my string. The string.
Okay, so now we're going to create the expectation. Unless he touches the bell, he's not going to get reinforced, okay? Because he's done at least 3 or 4 successful reps, but now he's kind of, we don't want to pay him unless he does the correct behavior, okay?
Bell.
He's offering. Oh, good job. Did he mistakenly touch it? Okay.
No.
If at any time he turns his head and he happens to hit it, we still reinforce that.
What if he just looks at it?
Now we want to make a contact.
Bell. He's hitting the string.
Okay, we really bring the bell up a little bit then, so it's less string. Okay.
Bell.
So I'd rather you actually hold it closer to him.
Bell.
Nope, take it away. So now we have a little bit of problem where he's a little confused on what we're trying to teach him, and so he's offering behaviors thinking that that's the right thing. So here's what we need to do. We're going to take a step back, which is perfectly fine, and we're going to go back. We're going to put the food and the bell in the one hand, and you're going to present it at the same time. So go and put it behind your back, put a piece of food in it, okay? Present your hand to him at the same time, say bell, okay? Right?
Bell.
Good, just like that.
Bell. Bell. I'm running out of crunchies.
Okay, let's do it. Do you have any more food?
I really should have cut these up smaller. I didn't think I'd be using so many. I know you said a lot, but
It's okay. Do you need to take a break and grab some additional food?
I've got my husband working on that right
All
now.
right.
He's such a good guy. Yeah. We cut these up here.
That'll work great.
You cut them up. Can you see if there's another one called Harvest Moo?
Yep.
And then cut those in half. I'm gonna save that one for a jackpot.
There you go.
It's too big. All right. All right, where were we?
The bell's in your hand, and you have a piece of food in the same time.
Bell.
Good, but put the food there. You go behind your back, and now drop a piece in the same hand as the bell.
Bell. Oh, fell out. Bell.
Good. There you go.
Good one. I heard him actually ring it.
Yeah, so that's a good time. I probably would have jackpotted him.
Bell.
Good. One more time with that.
Bell.
Good. Do me a favor. Now see if you can dangle it right in front of him and say bell, like inch away from. Good. Okay, really close again.
Bell. Yes.
Yes. Oh, jackpot him for that. That was really good.
Good boy.
That was a clear indication that he touched the bell. Good. Let's do it again.
Bell. Yes.
Yes, right there. Jackpot that.
Good boy.
Good. Can you dangle the bell a little bit more now? There you go. Just like that much. Okay.
Bell. Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Bell. Yes.
How do you feel? Do you think he's getting the concept?
I think he is. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, I'm reloaded.
Let's do it a couple more times.
Go. Yes.
Yes, good job. So now dangle a little bit more.
Go. Yeah.
Okay, wait. Hold it right there for a minute. Let's give him a couple seconds and see what he does. Can you hold it a little bit closer to him? There you go.
Yes.
There, good.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Just leave it right there for a second.
Yes.
Good.
It was an accident, but it hit.
Yep, let's try it again.
Yeah. Yes.
Good. So watch this little technique that might also help you. The same time you bring the bell out, you're actually going to hold your food hand behind the bell. So he almost has to make contact with the bell in order to get the food, okay?
All right. Yeah.
Good. So he almost has to push the bell out of the way in order to get the food.
Yeah.
There, just like that.
That worked. Yeah.
Good. Okay, now just hold the bell right in front of his nose, say bell. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Did it hit the bell or touch your hand?
It was the string.
We need the bell.
Yeah. I think it just is so close, Jason.
Okay, well, we have
Yes.
we have to pay for the attempt. Let's try this. Let's hold the bell halfway down, like hold the string halfway down, like really dangle it. There, yes, good. That's what we want. So at that point, I would have jackpotted him because that was one of the first times the bell's really away from your hand, and he reached out for it.
Yeah.
So where does he look? Oh, there you go.
Boy.
Typically he's trying to track your hand, right? Your food hand. So when you bring the bell out, hold it right in front of his nose.
Yeah. Good. Yes. Yeah.
So you're a little late on your cues. The moment the bell starts to come out, you say bell. You're stopping it in front of him, and then you're saying bell. You're almost like what I want you to do is present it and say bell at the same time. Okay?
Bell. Good.
Good job. Okay. How about we take a break on that?
Good. My knees are killing me.
Okay.
Oh, God.
So when you're ready, let's talk about your goals for your teaching boundaries.
Okay. What happens? Search. Oh, I don't know if I'll ever be able to stand up straight again. What happens is he lets himself in one of our rooms that I like having the door open, and he gets some unmentionable items. And
Gotcha.
I would like to be able to teach him how to respect that room as not his.
Okay, so let's talk about that. At any time, is he ever allowed in there? Like, do you guys ever invite him in, or is it pretty black and white where he always?
It would be by invitation only.
Okay,
Like,
but there are some times. There are times that you allow him in there.
Not very often, though.
Gotcha.
But
okay.
Yes, you're right. He will be able to go in there if I call him. Otherwise, he has no reason to be in there.
How many times a week do you think you let him in there? Like, let me ask you this: how many times a week would you do you invite him in?
Probably, maybe once. Like if I'm taking a nap and I want to use that bedroom, and because it's really sunny, if I want that, but that doesn't happen all that often. It's more seldom than more frequent.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, is it all hardwood or does it turn into carpet?
It's carpet.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So there's a couple different ways we can teach it. the easiest way was what we're going to do in a moment is we're going to basically play a game where we're going to toss food out of the room. We're actually going to say out. And then when he turns around and comes back in, we're actually going to stop him at the door. And we're just going to tell him to wait, right?
So I will be inside the room and I toss the food out.
You're going to be inside the room. So do you have plenty of food or do you need to cut some bait up?
I'm going to have to cut some bait.
Okay. You can take a break if you need real quick and cut some bait. I'll be here for you when you're ready.
Okay.
All right, Colleen. Looks like we're back. You have some training food. Looks like we reset in your room. And we're going to, all right, we're set up with a lot of food because you'll definitely need some. So to kind of recap a little bit from when we took a break, this is where we really need to be clear on expectations. So I think it's going to be difficult to really get him to be super clear to stay out of this room permanently. It's one of those things where a lot of times, let's say you're in a rush getting ready for your day, you walk in the room, he follows you, you're not even thinking about it. And now what happens is we're sending in mixed signals. So this is one of those cases where you really have to be adamant to make sure that you're always engaged with this lesson, that it's super clear that he needs to stay out of the room until you invite him in. There's also going to have to be some proofing that happens over time. In other words, proofing is where he's clear about staying out, but maybe you walk in and you go and you get out of sight, but you can kind of still keep an eye on him with a mirror or with, I like to use technology, like you do a FaceTime with your husband's phone so you can still see the dog and still kind of hold him accountable, because kind of seeing the dog he is now, I can tell that he's gonna push the boundaries. He's gonna try to find ways to kind of manipulate what you really want him to do by trying to sneak in and be kind of crafty on trying to get by with things. Okay. So basically what we're going to start doing is we're going to start by first teaching him. We're going to just teach him out. Now, let me ask you this. Do you use out for anything else right now?
I think I've always said out as a motion to get away from my space.
Okay.
I could try it on him. Do you think?
So, well, no, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna actually take the training steps, but you don't use out to drop anything. You don't use out for outside.
I will ask, do you want to go out?
Okay, I think that's something different. Long as you're saying, do you want to go out? It's almost one big long cue. So we'll start with.
Oh, I know another time my husband reminded me, if he has something, I will tell him out and he will drop it.
Okay, so we probably want to pick a different verbiage for this.
Yeah.
What is a word that we can teach them to stay out of a room? Depart.
Go away.
Go away.
Leave.
How about away?
Away. I like that.
Okay. And after today, if you want to change it, you'll be able to change it. This one little session isn't going to make sure that's anchored. So here's what I want you to do. Go ahead and grab your food. Can you get close to the door? Mm-hmm. Right in the corner of your bed and by the door there. So there you go. Okay. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to play a simple game. You're going to toss a piece of food out of the door. Okay. And then do you use the word in for anything, like come in or in?
Not that I can think of.
Cool. So what we're going to do here is we're going to back chain this a little bit. You're going to toss a piece of food out of the room. He's going to get it. And the moment he eats that food, he's going to turn around. He's going to automatically come back in. The moment he starts to come back in, you're going to say in, and you're going to feed him for coming in. Okay. We're just going to start there. Are you ready? Okay. So toss a piece of food out, and you can say get it if you want.
Get it.
Good. And now say in. So it's really super important you say in before he crosses that threshold onto the carpet.
Get it? In.
Good. Just like that.
Get it? In. This is easy. Get it? In.
Good. So basically what we're doing is we're back chaining here. We're inviting him in because in a moment when we don't invite him in, hopefully it's going to be clearer to him that, hey, I wasn't invited in, so I need to stay out. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's try it again.
Yeah. Get it. In. Good.
Good. Now, what word did we decide to use for this?
Away.
Oh, wait, okay. We're not going to use it yet. I just want to make sure I remembered. Okay, one more time.
Get it. In.
Good. All right, so now what you're going to do is you're going to toss a piece of food out, okay? And then you're already going to have another piece of food in your hand before he even turns around. You're going to stop him at the door. So basically your hand's going to have the piece of food in it in your palm, and you're going to stop with your hand, almost like you tell him to stop, but your finger is going to be pointing down, your palm's going to be facing him, and you're going to stop him at the door before he reaches the carpet, okay? And you're going to stop him there, and you're going to feed him, okay? And then after you do that, you're going to toss another piece of food behind him again, and then he's going to come back, and before he gets on the carpet, your hand's going to stop him there again. And we're going to do this about 3 or 4 times.
All righty. Get it.
Okay, now put your hand down to stop him.
Away.
Okay, don't tell him away yet. Not yet. Good. Toss a piece of food behind him.
Get it.
So you need to make sure you set up so he doesn't come onto the carpet. So you may have to get down a little bit lower to him.
Get it.
Good.
Get it. I like that the carpet makes a boundary.
Yes, I do too. So we kind of checked out, right? Don't worry about that. We checked out. Good. Now wait. Here's what you're gonna do now. You're gonna toss a piece of food behind him, okay? And then you're gonna have a piece of food in your hand, but I want your hand to be closed this time instead of open. So toss a piece of food behind him. Okay, keep your hand right there for a minute. Now here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna start to move your hand into the room, okay? And then you're gonna pull it right back and feed him for that. Bring your hand in, now bring it right back to him and feed him. Good, just like that. Toss a piece of food behind him. Okay, and let's set that up again. Bring it back to him right away. Good. And now you can say yes for that because we're marking the behavior of not coming in the room.
Yes.
Good. All right. Now we're going to use your command away. So the moment he gets to your hand, you can say away, and then pull your hand away, bring it back to him, and feed him. Just like that. Good.
Away. Yes.
Good. I want to say away the moment away right there.
Away.
You're a little late on it. The moment, like as he's coming to your hand, I want you to say it.
Away. Oh my God, he is so smart.
Did he just stop?
He did.
That was actually pretty amazing.
Good.
Good job. Okay, wait, be careful. Oh, feed him for that. Feed him for that. Come on, please.
Good boy.
Sorry.
Yes. Yes.
He really made a conscious decision to stay out of there.
He did.
Good job.
Away. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. He backed up. I would have fed him for backing up. He's kind of respecting that boundary.
Away.
Good. Now, wait a minute. Pull your hand away. Good. Now, doing fair. Okay. Don't feed until I tell you. Okay. Pull your hand away again. Okay. Now, set a piece of food on this side of your foot, your right foot on the ground. Slowly set it down. Good. Now, pick it up and hand it to him. Good. Reinforce that. This is a little impulse control. That he's doing really well. Good. Now, is there any time that you're gonna? Okay, be careful you don't push it too much. So, is there any time you're gonna let him come in?
Only when I tell him.
Okay, so now we're going to tell him. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to present a piece of food and you're going to tell him in, and you're going to have to kind of like really encourage him because he's going to be a little confused now, right?
When
Okay,
I present it, do you want me to just have it in my hand?
Yeah, have open hand, okay? And say in and kind of lure him in, like you're showing the food and pull it into the room. In. But did you say in?
I did.
Cool. Sorry. It didn't show up on the. Okay, now stop. Get it. Say away. Stop him.
Wait.
So you weren't clear.
I wasn't. I think I get the gist.
Okay.
Try to get him. Get it. Away.
Good.
Get it. Away. Good.
So for every time you invite him in, you probably need to do like 10 of these because coming in is already strengthened because he does it all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So staying out is the behavior that we need to strengthen more than anything else.
Away.
Oh, that was really good.
In. Yes.
Good. So that's a time where you may even use his name a little bit, like Finn in, right? So kind of really make it clear. Oh, can you pay that? You know why?
He turned around and stopped.
He turned around and went back outside. Good job. All right, let's go ahead and stop the session. Let's talk a little bit, kind of digest what we covered.
All righty. Oh, you get out. Out. Oh, back.
So this is a good opportunity to manage instead of train.
Mm-hmm.
You knew you were going to sit on the floor, right?
I totally spaced him out.
Right, exactly. And he kind of failed. So a lot of times we want to manage more than train. So in this case, I probably would have shut the door so he didn't fail at all. Okay. So typically keep the doors shut. So while you're not home or maybe your husband's running around not thinking about it, the dog can still be successful on really staying out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Typically if you're going in and out the door, you're cleaning. If you're doing some cleaning and you're going to be walking in and out, have food with you. So when you walk in, you can automatically tell them away. And then, you can go back and reinforce that. You're going to mix it up a lot with them. Okay. So there's no time you're not training. Okay.
That's a good point. Yeah.
We started by loading our behavior marker. Basically, yes tells them there's a reinforcer coming. And then we went to basically trying to get him to touch the bell in your hand. From there, we tried to dangle the bell, get him to make some tactile touching there directly to the bell. Pretty soon, we layered the cue bell on top of it where you presented the bell and you held it in front of him. He touched it. We didn't really get beyond that point. He just wasn't really ready, which is perfectly fine. And we kind of have to move at his pace. The last step would be once he gets to understanding where you can dangle the bell, you say bell and he touches it, then you're going to hold it in your hand by the door. You're not going to tie it to the door. You're just going to hold it in your hand by the door, kind of where a dangle, tell him bell, he touches it, reinforce. And then from there, we're going to tie it to the doorknob. Your hand will kind of be by the bell. You'll say bell, he'll touch it, you reinforce. And then slowly you fade your hand away where you'll say bell and he'll reach out and he'll ring the bell. And the moment he does that, then you open the door, you reinforce that he goes out of the door and then invite him back in, reinforce. And then basically you start the process over again. So he starts realizing that when I hit the bell, the door opens. And eventually you can actually put some food outside. And this will really speed up our learning process, because then he's going to realize, I really want to get outside to get that food. How do I do it? I don't look at mom. I don't bark at mom. I don't jump on mom. I have to ring this bell. Ringing the bell causes the door to open.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Great. Yeah.
And then the last section we did was just teach him some boundaries, how to kind of stay out of that room. He did really exceptionally well. Your timing was really nice. You just got to make sure that you don't do too many inviting ends, that you do, I mean, and even though I said 1 to 10 ratio, it doesn't mean that that's exact number. You just kind of have to play with those numbers and say, okay, how many times do I reinforce him coming in? And if I reinforce him coming in too many times, does he start kind of failing? And he starts failing more often, then that means we need to reinforce him staying out of the room more often than none. So you kind of got to play with those numbers. And then the last step is just kind of proofing. When we set the food on the floor, that was some proofing, right? So we're just teaching him that even though there's a competing motivator, something that he wants to go get or something that he desires, he still needs to stay out of the room. But in fact, that thing or that toy or food is going to be delivered to him outside of the room. And that's super important. One little tidbit of information, as he gets clear on this and does better, you can start bringing his food dish in and set his food dish in the floor. And when he he's going to say, hey, I got to stay out of the room. And then my food dish gets brought to me. That will probably be like the ultimate test to make sure he really, really understands your expectations.
That's really cool, Jason. How much time do you when can I call you back? When can we review? I'm so excited to start on this.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So most of the time, what I encourage people to do is instead of booking another session right off the bat, which I'm always available to help you. I'm always available for you if there's a need, but I'd rather see you work with your dog maybe for a couple weeks, really get the reps in, really start create some muscle memory. And then we can come back, book another session. And then you can really show me where you're at in the process. And then if there's something that particularly that we need to work on in that process, we can kind of digest it together, work on it together. However, you also may come back and say, man, it is really working well. I think we really have this behavior anchored and we really don't need anything else. Awesome. Then we can move on to something else.
Great. I was expecting it to be a less amount of time, but I think a couple of weeks will be good. That'll give me time to get it in my muscle memory and chances to review, because there's two very different things. One is a boundary and one is an action that he needs to take. So I'm really excited, and I love that we can do Zooms. It makes me feel really safe and very, very good about being able to continue to train my dog in my home. I like this a lot.
Yeah, in this case, in this situation, even though I have a physical location, in this situation, it worked really great, really well, because one, there's no way we could really do the boundary, be clear with the dog where not to come into. Two, even though we can teach them how to ring a bell at my physical location, I don't think it's going to mean as much and be clear like why we are doing it if we didn't work on this in your home environment. So I'm really glad we got to work on this in your home, even though it's just virtually. I think you did extremely well. The dog did very well, and it worked out really, really nicely.
I'm very excited to go about it this way. And on my list of things I want to do with you in the future, perhaps getting my dog to not bark while I'm on a Zoom call would be really nice.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we could work on. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you. And let me know what else I can do, and keep up the good work, okay?
Thank you, Jason. Thank you so much.
All right, you're very welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.